There are places on this earth where the ground itself holds secrets. Places so remote, so hostile, so utterly removed from human life that what happens there stays hidden, sometimes for years, sometimes forever. Antarctica is one of those places, and in 2014, something happened there that the world was never meant to fully understand. It began with a crack. Not a small one, not the kind of fracture that scientists file away in quarterly reports and forget about by Monday morning. This was something different, something that made the analysts go quiet. NASA's satellites, orbiting hundreds of miles above the frozen continent, captured imagery of a rift tearing through the Pine Island Glacier, one of the largest and most structurally critical bodies of ice on the planet. The crack was massive, it was accelerating, and according to internal assessments that would take months to surface, it was unlike anything recorded before. But here is what you were not told. While the scientific community was carefully drafting press releases and peer-reviewed papers, another conversation was happening in a very different kind of room. Military analysts, people whose job is not to study glaciers but to study threats, had begun flagging the Pine Island data through entirely separate channels. The language they used was not scientific, it was strategic. Because what a collapsing glacier means to a climate researcher and what it means to a national security analyst are two completely different things. Think about it. The Pine Island Glacier alone holds enough ice that, if destabilized, it could raise global sea levels by over a foot. But Pine Island does not stand alone. It acts as a plug, a structural barrier holding back the far larger West Antarctic ice sheet behind it. And the West Antarctic ice sheet, if that moves, scientists had already quietly estimated sea levels could rise by 10 feet or more. Not in centuries, potentially within decades. 10 feet. Do you understand what 10 feet means? It means Miami is gone. It means Mumbai is underwater. It means the coastlines of dozens of nations, nations that house hundreds of millions of people, are simply erased. It means military bases, shipping lanes, port cities, nuclear facilities sitting at sea level, all of them suddenly vulnerable, suddenly compromised. This is why the analysts were paying attention. This was never just about ice. What happened next shocked even the people who had been watching the closest. By late 2014, the crack in Pine Island had grown so severe that a massive iceberg measuring roughly 225 square miles broke away entirely from the glacier. It was one of the largest calving events ever recorded in that region. NASA released the images, the story ran for a news cycle, and then, quietly, it disappeared from the headlines. The world moved on. But the crack did not stop. The glacier did not stabilize. The melt did not slow. If anything, the data coming in through 2015 suggested the situation was worsening faster than the public models had predicted. And someone inside already knew the danger was far greater than what was being said out loud. Internal assessments from this period, portions of which have since been referenced in declassified government briefings, painted a picture that was significantly darker than the official scientific consensus being shared with the public at the time. The gap between what was known and what was communicated was not an accident. It was a decision, a calculation made by people who understood that releasing the full weight of what the Pine Island data implied would trigger consequences, economic, political, and military, that no government was prepared to manage. So they managed the message instead. The question that remains, the question that no official report has ever fully answered, is this: at what point does a natural disaster become a national security event? At what point does a crack in a glacier stop being a scientific problem and start being a geopolitical one? Because the coastlines at risk are not evenly distributed. The nations with the most to lose are not the ones with the most power, and the nations with the most power had already begun making very quiet preparations that had nothing to do with carbon emissions or climate pledges. The ice is still moving, the crack is still there, and the conversation that started in those rooms in 2014, the one you were never invited into, has never stopped. Some truths are not hidden because they are small, they are hidden because they are too large to control.
The end. Like and subscribe if you want more.